Time now for a look at the latest business news. And well, Google's new deal with a healthcare company in the United States, which will see it gather data on millions of Americans. That's what we're going to start with our business editor, Stephen Carroll, to tell us more. Stephen.
Eve, the tech giant has signed an agreement with Ascension, which is America's second largest hospital system. It's going to store and analyse data on their patients. Dubbed Project Nightingale, it represents a major push by Google into the healthcare industry. Now, this deal means that patient data logged by doctors and nurses in Ascension's computer systems are essentially transferred into Google's. The idea is that the technology company will then analyse the information and use it to identify illnesses and suggest better treatments. But some workers at Ascension have raised concerns about Google's access to this information. In a statement, the company says it's complied with strict federal laws on patient information and that its use is limited and cannot be combined with any Google consumer data. But patients or doctors hadn't been told that their information was being used in this way. Moving on, the boss of Uber says he regrets calling the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi a mistake in a recent interview. Speaking to an Axios news programme over the weekend, Dara Khosrowshahi compared the death of Khashoggi to problems that Uber had had developing its self-driving cars. He was speaking about whether or not he felt the managing director of Saudi's investment fund was a suitable board member for Uber. In a statement afterwards, the CEO said he had misspoken and said something that he didn't believe. Now, a court in Paris is set to begin hearing a case taken by customers of BNP Paribas Personal Finance over the mis-selling of loans in Swiss francs. Some 1,600 borrowers have banded together to sue the division of the French bank, saying they weren't told of the risk of taking out loans in the Swiss currency. Shirley Sipman reports.
This French couple wanted a safe investment for their daughter. They purchased a one-bedroom apartment, contracted a loan with BNP Paribas Personal Finance, and started paying it off. But 3 years later, they found out they owed more money to their bank than they had originally borrowed.
We borrowed 130,000 euros. I paid back 100,000 euros. And now I still owe 153,000 euros.
The reason for these rising costs: the loan was contracted in Swiss francs but paid back in euros. And as the euro's value has fallen sharply against the franc since 2008, the payments have risen. Some 1,600 customers are now suing the division of the French bank that issued the loans, saying it did not warn them about the risks of devaluation.
The legal investigation shows that the bank chose a sales pitch that focused on Switzerland's low borrowing rate and chose not to emphasize that there were also significant risks linked to exchange rates.
The bank denies any wrongdoing. It says it warned its clients about the risks.
The document they signed was perfectly clear. They were informed of the risks. But no one could predict how significant the devaluation would be.
The bank is facing hundreds of other cases over these loans, as well as criminal proceedings.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the stock markets for you next. In Europe, markets starting the day up. Car makers seeing some gains. This after reports that Donald Trump may delay plans to place tariffs on cars imported from the European Union. That deadline currently Wednesday. That's helping to boost shares across London, Paris and Frankfurt at the start of trading. In Asia earlier, we saw the markets turn positive as the trading day went on. We had a sharp fall in the Hang Seng on Monday after the violence there, but the stock market index there seeing somewhat of a bounce back in trading today. The Hang Seng up by 0.4% as it comes towards the close of trading. Well, finally for me, Formula One Motor Racing says that it wants to become carbon neutral by 2030. The organisation says carbon reduction efforts would start immediately with moves to renewable power for its offices, facilities and factories. There are 22 planned races next year, which would see 10 teams flying around the world. Now, the hybrid engines used in F1 are already more efficient than normal cars, but they do lag behind the Formula E races, which use all-electric vehicles. F1 plans to offset the carbon that it's using by planting more trees. Eve.
Okay, Stephen, thanks a lot for that. Sounds like a lot of trees about to be planted. Stephen Carroll there with our business update.